funny thing about warnings. People only take them seriously when it's too late. You can shout, you can write it in bold, you can paint it in blood, and they'll still laugh it off until the walls start shaking. It's not that they can't hear you. It's that they don't want to. Because the moment you admit a warning is real, you also admit that danger is closer than you'd like to believe. And nobody likes feeling the ground crumble under their feet before they're ready to run. You ever notice how people only start paying attention when it's already too late? Sirens blaring, smoke in the air, chaos unfolding. And only then, they start looking around like, what happened? As if the warning signs weren't there the whole time, waving right in their faces, screaming without sound. Oh, but no, they were too busy scrolling, sipping, laughing, pretending the cracks in the wall were just part of the decoration. That's the funny thing about danger. It doesn't show up uninvited. It sends little notes, little signals, little tremors. The problem is, most people ball up those notes and toss them in the trash, thinking the game will go on forever. See, a disaster never just happens. It crawls toward you, quiet at first, like a shadow growing longer in the late afternoon. You see it in the tired faces of people who've already felt the shift. You hear it in the sudden hush of a crowd when something feels off. But humans? Oh, they're experts in self-deception. They slap a smile on their face and say, I'm sure it's nothing. Nothing. Right? Until that nothing is standing on your doorstep with a grin that could slice through bone. I've watched people walk straight into ruin because the truth was too ugly to look at. They'd rather squint, blur the edges, tell themselves the darkness in the distance is just the night settling in, not a storm rolling straight for them. Recognizing the signs? That takes guts, real guts. It's not about knowing. Oh no, it's about admitting. Admitting that the thing you fear is closer than you think, and that pretending otherwise doesn't make it go away. It's in the little changes you ignore. The coworker who stops talking as soon as you walk into the room. The sudden silence in the neighborhood that used to hum with life. The way the air feels heavier, like it's holding its breath. You feel it, but you shake it off. Because if you admit you feel it, then you have to act. And acting, that means stepping out of your cozy little bubble of routine and comfort. But here's the cruel joke The signs don't care if you're comfortable. They don't care if you're not ready or if the timing's bad. They're not asking for permission to exist. They're warnings. And every time you turn your head, every time you laugh it off, every time you convince yourself there's still time, the clock keeps ticking. And you don't even hear it until it's deafening. You can smell the danger before it comes knocking, you know. It's in the way familiar places start feeling unfamiliar. The way familiar faces start looking like strangers. The way a calm day starts carrying the weight of something unsaid. And when you feel that, you're standing at a fork in the road. One path says, pay attention, prepare, protect. The other says, don't worry. Everything will work itself out. Guess which one most people choose. They choose the path with the pretty flowers, the gentle music, the illusion of safety. And halfway down that path, the flowers are gone, the music's silent. And all that's left is the sound of footsteps, your own, and the creeping realization that you should have turned back when you had the chance. Recognizing the signs isn't about fear. It's about survival. It's about having the nerve to stare the ugly truth in the face before it grows teeth. Because here's the thing. Those signs you ignore, they don't stop just because you don't look. They multiply. They stack up. They start whispering to each other in the dark. And by the time you finally see them for what they are, they're not warnings anymore. They're the opening act before the main event, and the show's already begun without you noticing. Funny thing about people, they think they've got more time than they do. They always believe tomorrow's this wide, open field. We waiting for them to stroll in whenever they please. But tomorrow's not a field. It's a locked door. And the key, oh, that key is in your hand for a little while. Then it's gone. What most people don't realize is that warnings don't stretch forever. They don't wait patiently in the corner until you're ready. They have an expiration date. And when that date passes, so does your chance. You ever see someone miss their moment right in front of them? It's like watching a slow motion train wreck. You can shout, wave your arms, paint the sky red if you want, but they'll just smile, nod, and say, I'll get to it later. Later. That's the favorite word of the doomed. They think danger will be polite enough to wait in line behind their plans, their laziness, their excuses, But danger doesn't wait. It pounces. And when it does, it doesn't knock. It rips the door off the hinges and walks right in. A warning is a gift, whether you like the wrapping or not. It's not a threat. It's a hand pulling you back from the edge. But here's the problem. People get comfortable standing at that edge. They lean forward just to feel the rush, telling themselves they've still got balance, still got control. They ignore the way the wind's picking up, the way the ground's crumbling under their shoes. And then, when it gives way, they act surprised. Surprised, like the world betrayed them. You don't get infinite reminders. The universe isn't your secretary, sending you polite little notifications until you feel like answering. It's more like a ticking bomb under the floorboards. You hear the faint click, 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 and you either take it seriously or you sit there pretending it's the pipes. And one day, that sound stops. Not because the danger's gone, because the time is. I've seen people lose everything because they thought the moment would come back around. Opportunities don't run in circles. They run in straight lines. And if you're not on the path, they're gone before you even notice they passed. That's the thing. Warnings aren't just about avoiding pain. They're about seizing the sliver of time where you can still do something about it. Miss that sliver, and you're just a spectator in your own downfall. And you can tell when someone's running out of warnings. There's a look they get, wide eyes, frantic hands, but the kind of frantic that comes too late. They're trying to patch holes in the ship after it's already halfway under. They scramble, plead, pray for one more sign, one more hint, one more chance. But the thing about last chances, you don't know they're the last one until after you've wasted them. You can't treat warnings like background noise. They're not wallpaper. They're flashing red lights in your face, and the longer you ignore them, the dimmer they get, not because they're less urgent, but because you've gotten used to the glow. And once you've adjusted to the light, you won't even see it anymore. You'll walk straight past the danger, right into the teeth of it, wondering why nobody told you. But someone did. The signs told you. The uneasy feeling told you. The shift in the air told you. The problem is, you thought those signals would keep repeating until you were in the mood to act. You thought you could put off preparation until after your comfort was satisfied. You thought you were in control of the clock. But the clock doesn't ask your permission to strike midnight. It just does. And when it does, everything changes. People think the world falls apart in some grand, theatrical way. Sirens wailing, skies tearing open, fire raining down. They imagine they'll see it coming, have time to grab their coat, their wallet, maybe even a goodbye hug before it all collapses. But it's never like that. No. The big shifts, the ones that change everything, they slip in quiet. Like a shadow creeping under the door. You don't even notice until the room feels colder, and by then, it's already here. The mistake most make is waiting for the perfect moment to act. As if perfection's ever shown up on time for anyone. They keep their plans in their back pocket, waiting for the wind to be just right, the road to be clear, the stars to line up in polite little rows. But the world doesn't wait for your alignment. It moves with or without you. While you're sitting still, waiting for the sign, others are already moving, already taking the spot you thought you'd have. And when you finally get up to run, the race has already ended. You've heard it before. Hesitation kills. But it doesn't kill loudly. It's not a gunshot. It's a slow suffocation. Every second you spend thinking instead of doing is one breath you won't get back. And you'll tell yourself you're just preparing, strategizing, making sure it's the right move. But deep down, you know it's fear dressed up as wisdom. You know you're stalling, hoping the decision will make itself. But decisions don't walk to your door and knock politely. They come like storms. You either get inside or you get drenched. The truth. Action doesn't wait for certainty. It feeds on risk. Every great leap, every real change started with someone not knowing how it would end, but doing it anyway. That's the part no one wants to hear. There's no safety net for life. You can write all the plans you want, but paper burns fast when the fire hits. And when it does, the only thing that matters is whether you're moving or frozen. I've seen people lose more to waiting than to failure. Failure hurts, yes, but it teaches, it sharpens, it gives you scars you can work with. Waiting rots you from the inside. It makes you softer, slower, more comfortable with doing nothing. And before you know it, nothing becomes your normal. You start telling yourself stories. How it's better to avoid the risk. How maybe the chance wasn't meant for you. How you're playing it smart. But what you're really doing is making peace with regret before it's even earned. And when the moment finally does slip through your fingers, you'll feel it. That empty drop in your gut. That heavy silence when you realize the door is closed and you didn't even try to open it. You'll replay it in your head 1,000 times, thinking about the one move you could have made differently, the one word you could have said, the one step you could have taken. But thinking doesn't rewind the clock. It just traps you in a loop where nothing changes except how much older you get. Opportunities aren't like buses. They don't come back around on schedule. Some of them are one-time offers, and the universe doesn't keep spares in the back for the hesitant. You either take them when they're hot or watch them cool into dust. And the cruelest part, you won't always know which ones were the big ones until they're gone. That's why hesitation is so dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you have the luxury of time. But time isn't a luxury. It's a loan. And every second you sit there waiting for the perfect conditions, the interest builds. By the time you're ready to act, the cost might be more than you can pay. And the thing about life is, it always collects. One way or another, the bill comes due. Funny thing about people. They think they can bargain with consequences. They believe if they just explain themselves well enough, if they just plead their case with the right words, the world will give them a pass. But the world doesn't listen. It doesn't care if you meant well. It doesn't care about your excuses, your reasons, your sad little stories about why you couldn't do it this time. The world only keeps score in outcomes. And outcomes, well, they're not sentimental. You don't get extra credit for almost trying. You don't get a medal for good intentions. You either show up or you don't. You either make the move or you stay in the corner. And if you think sitting still means you're safe, you're wrong. It just means you're invisible. You can't win a game the referee doesn't even know you're playing. Most people spend their lives looking for someone to tell them what to do. They want permission. They want a green light. They want a sign that says, yes, it's your turn now. But here's the thing. There is no green light. There's no bell that rings when you're ready. You just go. You go while you're scared, while you're unprepared, while you're shaking. You go because the alternative is staying exactly where you are. And that's worse than falling. But falling isn't the part they fear. It's the landing. That moment when you hit the ground and realize there's no magic cushion waiting for you. That's why so many never take the jump. They'd rather rot in the safety of almost than feel the sting of too late. They tell themselves they're being patient. They're being careful. They're just three, out of everything in the world, every flavor, every temptation, every sweet, salty, greasy little pleasure you could sink your teeth into. You're told only these three. Sounds simple, right? Almost harmless. Like some neat little diet tip from the universe. But here's the problem. When you're told you can't have something, suddenly that's all you see. That's all you want. You think you see the world clearly until something you took for granted is suddenly gone. Scarcity. Oh, that's a funny little trick life plays on you. When something is rare, your brain doesn't just notice it, it worships it before it was just there. Ordinary, invisible in the background like the hum of a refrigerator. But the second someone says, no, you can't have that, suddenly it's the center of the universe. That dull little thing you ignored becomes gold, priceless, untouchable. And you want it, not because you need it, but because now you're not allowed to have it. See, scarcity doesn't just change how you feel about things. It rewires the whole theater in your head. You walk past the same places you've seen 100 times. But now every corner looks different. That little fruit you never cared for. Suddenly, you're daydreaming about biting into it. That smell wafting through the air from some stranger's lunch. It's intoxicating. It's not just food anymore. It's a symbol, a forbidden jewel. And here's the twisted part. Scarcity doesn't actually make something better. It just makes you think it is. It's a mirage, a trick your mind plays when it's afraid of losing control. You start telling yourself stories. I always loved this. It's special. It's worth the wait. But deep down, it's not the thing you're after. It's the chase, the drama, the little rush you get when you're close to something you're not supposed to touch. Scarcity turns you into a scavenger. You start noticing every crumb, every scrap. You'll take what you can get and still feel unsatisfied because it's not really hunger you're feeding. It's something darker. The hunger for possession, the hunger for control, the hunger for that one moment when you finally get to break the rule, even if no one sees you do it. And the cruelest joke, once you finally have it, the magic dies. You take that first bite, and for a second, it's heaven. But the second bite, a little less. The third, it's back to being just what it always was. Ordinary. You spent all that time craving it, obsessing over it, and the moment you have it, you realize the truth. You weren't chasing the thing. You were chasing the feeling. Scarcity is a stage magician. It distracts you with one hand while stealing from the other. It makes you believe in the illusion of value, when really, it's just playing with your instincts. You think you're strong enough to resist, but the more you try, the more power it has over you. You start organizing your life around what you can't have instead of appreciating what you do. You give it space in your mind rent, free, and it grows there like a vine, curling around everything else until you can't tell where it stops and you begin. People like to think they're immune. They'll say, "It's just a thing. I don't care." But all it takes is one moment, one flick of the wrist, and the game changes. Scarcity flips the board over, scatters the pieces, and now you're crawling on your hands and knees just to find one. And the worst part, you'll call it worth it. You'll call it passion. You'll tell yourself it's proof you're alive. But all along, it's just scarcity pulling the strings, and you dancing to its tune like you never had a choice at all pressure. Now that's an interesting little beast. Most people treat it like the enemy. They think pressure is something to escape from, something to hide from, something to avoid at all costs. But oh, pressure doesn't just show up to ruin you. It shows up to reveal you. It's like a spotlight in a dark room, cutting through all the shadows, stripping away the polite mask you wear when no one's looking too closely. Pressure doesn't care about your excuses, your plans, or your carefully rehearsed lines. It wants to see what you do when the script burns up in your hands. You think you know yourself until you're cornered, until the walls start closing in, and the clock is ticking so loud it drowns out your heartbeat. That's when the real you slips out, messy, raw, unpredictable. Pressure squeezes you, and whatever's inside, oh, it comes spilling out. Maybe it's courage, maybe it's panic. Maybe it's something you didn't even know was there. Pressure doesn't ask permission. It just wrings the truth out of you drop by drop. Most people think pressure is unfair. They want life to be a calm little stroll. No surprises, no danger. But if you never feel the heat, you never know how strong you are. Diamonds aren't born in silk. They're born in crushing, merciless force. Bones don't get tougher from comfort. They get tougher when they're used, tested, pushed past the breaking point. Without pressure, you stay soft, weak, fragile. You don't grow. You just exist. And here's the funny thing. Pressure doesn't just test your strength. It tests your focus. When everything's calm, you've got 1,000 thoughts floating around, tugging you in every direction. But under pressure, suddenly everything else fades. Your senses sharpen. Time slows down. Your mind grabs the one thing that matters and clings to it like a lifeline. Pressure burns away the noise, leaving only what's real. But it's not just about surviving pressure. It's about what you become because of it. Some people crack, some people crumble, some people run. But a rare few, they thrive. They take that weight, that suffocating force, and they use it. They turn it into fuel. They let it forge them like metal in fire. They don't just stand there trembling. They push back. And in that push, they discover something dangerous. They're capable of more than they ever thought. The cruel joke is, pressure never really leaves you alone. The moment you think you've got it all figured out, it comes back. Different shape, different size, but the same game. And every time you get the choice, bend, break, or rise. But here's the twist. Once you've risen under real pressure, once you've felt that fire in your chest and kept moving anyway, you start to crave it. You start to look for it. Because normal life feels dull without it. Pressure isn't here to ruin you. It's here to strip away the lies you tell yourself, to show you what's real, to force you to dig deeper, to claw past the surface until you find that part of you that doesn't flinch. That's the part that survives. That's the part that wins. And when the world finally sees it, they won't remember the calm days, the easy moments. They'll remember the time the weight of the world was on your back, and you didn't just carry it. You ran with it. People love to think they're in control, that they've got the wheel in their hands, steering life exactly where they want it to go. Cute, isn't it? But here's the problem. Control is an illusion. You don't get to decide when the storm hits. You don't get to call the shots when the ground starts shaking under your feet. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It kicks the door in whenever it feels like it. And when that happens, your pretty little plans don't matter anymore. What matters is whether you can move when it's time to move. See? The thing about timing is, it's never comfortable. The moment you have to act is almost always the moment you'd rather not. It's too soon, too risky, too unpredictable. You want to take your time. Think it over. Make sure all the pieces are in place. But life, it laughed in your face and says, now. And if you hesitate, even for a second, the opportunity's gone. Forever. Not coming back. No matter how much you beg or bargain. Most people aren't ready for. No. They think they'll be braver tomorrow, stronger next week, wiser next year. But later is a lie. There's only now and gone. The door doesn't stay open. It swings shut. And when it does, you'll find yourself standing there, staring at where it used to be, wondering why you didn't move. That's the moment regret sets in, sharp and deep, like a blade you didn't see coming. And here's the thing. They tell you to be patient, to wait for the perfect time. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But the perfect time doesn't exist. You're never going to feel completely ready. You're never going to have everything lined up, the path cleared, the risk eliminated. Life doesn't hand you certainty. It hands you chances wrapped in chaos. And the only people who win are the ones willing to step into that chaos without blinking. When you think about it, hesitation is the killer. Not failure, not mistakes. Hesitation. Because failure teaches you something, mistakes give you experience, but hesitation, it gives you nothing. It steals your shot before you even take it. You can't win a game you never play. And the clock is always ticking, even if you try to pretend it's not. You've got to train yourself to move before you feel ready. To jump while your legs are still shaking. To say yes while the doubt is still in your throat. That's how you catch the moments that change everything. Because the truth is, life rarely shouts. It whispers. And if you're too busy waiting for a loud, clear signal, you'll miss the quiet little doorways that lead to something bigger. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you start acting on the no, you begin to realize something dangerous. You start trusting yourself in a way most people never do. You stop needing every answer, every guarantee. You get addicted to the rush of stepping into the unknown and finding out you can handle it. You learn that ready isn't a feeling, it's a decision. The world isn't going to slow down for you. It's not going to pause while you figure out how you feel. It's going to keep spinning, keep shifting, keep throwing moments in your face that demand you decide. And the ones who move without flinching, they're the ones who end up with the prize. Not because they were the smartest or the strongest, but because when the moment came, they didn't wait for an invitation. They were already moving. Funny thing about people, they think protection always looks like a wall. Solid, strong, unbreakable. They think it's about building something around themselves so nothing bad can get in. But real protection, it's not about hiding. It's about having someone or something out there in the chaos, already armed, already watching, already ready to strike before trouble even knows you exist. That's the kind of security most people can't even imagine, because it's not soft, it's not gentle, it's not wrapped in kindness. It's dangerous, and it's meant for you. See, there's a difference between feeling safe and being safe. Feeling safe is what you get from illusions, locked doors, bright lights, nice neighborhoods. Being safe, that comes from someone who knows the rules of the game and isn't afraid to break them for you. Someone who's not just prepared, they're locked and loaded, ready to move without hesitation. And that's the thing, protection isn't passive. It's not about waiting for danger to show up. It's about meeting it halfway and cutting it down before it ever reaches you. Most people will never know the price of that kind of protection. They think it's free because they don't see the blood it costs, the sleepless nights, the way someone has to stay sharp while you get to relax. And maybe that's the point. You're not supposed to see it. Because the whole job is making sure you don't feel the danger that's actually out there. The job is letting you walk around thinking everything's fine, while in reality, there's a storm circling, and someone's already fighting it for you. But protection like that, it's not a charity. It's not random. It's targeted, specific, chosen. You don't get someone locked and loaded on your side just because you exist. You get it because, for whatever reason, you're worth the fight. Maybe it's something you've done. Maybe it's something you are. Maybe it's something you don't even realize yet. But whatever it is, it's got someone out there willing to carry the weight. Pull the trigger and take the hit before it ever reaches you. And here's the part no one talks about. Having someone like that on your side doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It just means when fear comes, it's not the whole story. It means you can keep moving even when you don't see the full picture, because you trust that someone else is already dealing with the threats you can't. That's power most people underestimate. The power to keep walking forward without constantly looking over your shoulder. It's a strange kind of partnership because you might never meet this person in the way you think. You might never see them standing there with the weapon in their hand. You might never even know when they've acted on your behalf. All you know is that somehow trouble keeps missing you by inches. Somehow, the worst never quite reaches you. And you chalk it up to luck, coincidence, fate. But luck doesn't stay that consistent. Coincidence doesn't have that kind of aim. The real thing, it's sharp, it's calculated, it's deliberate. Every move is timed, every strike is clean. This isn't about hoping nothing happens. It's about making sure the wrong thing never even gets a chance. And once you've got that kind of force working for you, you start to notice something. Things that should have destroyed you didn't. Things that should have broken you didn't. Things that should have ended you before you even got started didn't. And maybe you think it's because you're just tough enough to survive it all. Maybe you've convinced yourself you've been dodging bullets on your own. But deep down, some part of you knows the truth. You've been covered, guarded, shielded by someone who doesn't need thanks, who doesn't need recognition, who doesn't need you to understand. They just need you to keep going. Because their job isn't about glory. It's about making sure you reach whatever it is you're meant to reach without being taken out too soon.